began with a crash, a flash of headlights, and then nothing. For 12 long days, 32-year-old Michael Thomas lay silent in a hospital bed, trapped somewhere between life and death. Doctors said it was a miracle he'd survived it all. But what happened when he finally opened his eyes wasn't something they could explain. The moment he spoke, the room fell quiet. It wasn't English. Every word was clear, every sentence perfect, yet none of it belonged to the life he'd lived before. Michael Thomas, born and raised in Chicago, had awakened speaking fluent Spanish. No lessons, no travel, no reason. The nurses thought he was joking. His family thought it was brain damage. But as the days passed, one thing became certain. This was no mistake. What had rewired his mind? Was it trauma? A miracle? Something science hasn't named yet? Tonight, we follow the extraordinary story of the man who went to sleep in one language and woke up in another. Stay till the end, because the truth behind this case will make you question everything you know about memory, identity, and the human mind.
He woke up from a coma speaking a language he never learned. How does the mind remember what it never knew? The answer may change everything we believe about memory, identity, and the mystery of the human brain. March 3rd, 2018, the day everything changed. It was just after dawn when Michael Thomas left his apartment on the west side of Chicago. He was running late for work, coffee in one hand, keys in the other. The city was waking up. Rain sliding down the glass, headlights gliding through puddles. He called his mother at 7:42 a.m., a short call. "I'll see you this weekend," he said. Those were the last words she ever heard from him. Minutes later, on Interstate 90, a truck lost control on the slick road. Michael's car was hit head-on. Paramedics found him unconscious, breathing shallowly, pulse faint. He was rushed to St. Luke's Medical Center with severe head trauma and internal bleeding. Doctors thought to stabilize him. He slipped into a deep coma. For days, machines breathed for him. Tubes, wires, and silence became his world. His family gathered, mother, brother, and fiancé, whispering prayers into the static hum of hospital lights. Doctors warned him he might never wake up. But something in his brain refused to quit. EEG readings showed strange bursts of electrical activity, short, chaotic spikes that didn't match a normal coma pattern. Some nights, his eyes moved rapidly beneath closed lids, as if he were dreaming. It's unusual, one neurologist said. It's as if his mind is active, but not here. Days turned into weeks. The world kept moving, but inside that room, time had stopped. His mother sat by his bed every night, holding his hand, whispering the same words. "Michael, come back to me." And then, on the 12th day, he did. His eyes opened slowly. He looked around, confused, weak, and trembling. The nurse leaned close and said, "Michael, can you hear me?" He nodded. His lips moved. And then, he spoke. But the words that came out weren't English. The nurse froze. The doctor leaned in. Michael spoke again, louder this time, a full sentence, clear and fluent, in Spanish. The language of a life he'd never lived. The hospital staff exchanged glances. His mother, in tears, said, "Michael, what are you saying?" But he couldn't understand her. He didn't know why. He didn't know how. All he knew was that, somehow, he was awake. And the world sounded different now. At first, doctors thought it was delirium, a confused mind trying to make sense of the world after trauma. But as hours passed, it became clear this was no confusion. Michael Thomas wasn't babbling nonsense. He was speaking Spanish, perfectly. Fluent grammar, complex sentences, natural accent, words flowing like a stream he'd known all his life. Nurses brought in translators. Every test confirmed it. Comprehension, vocabulary, syntax, flawless. Except for one thing. He couldn't understand English. The language he'd spoken since birth was suddenly gone. His mother tried speaking to him. He looked at her, eyes wide, frightened, unable to recognize her words. ¿Dónde estoy? Where am I? The doctor replied gently in English. He shook his head. Then they tried Spanish. He answered instantly. It made no sense. Michael had never traveled abroad. He'd never studied Spanish. He'd failed the only language class he ever took in high school. The next day, a neurologist arrived with a translator. They asked Michael to describe his dreams, what he remembered while in the coma. He told them he saw faces he didn't know, streets he'd never walked, and voices speaking to him in Spanish. Comforting, familiar voices. It felt like I belonged there, he said. Doctors ran cognitive tests. His memory of family, friends, even his own name in English was fragmented, almost erased. But in Spanish, he remembered everything with clarity, colors, emotions, even specific details from the accident scene, as if his brain had switched channels. A new identity, a new language, in the same body. News of his case spread fast. Reporters called it the miracle coma. Some called it divine intervention. Others said it was proof that the human brain hides abilities beyond comprehension. But Michael wasn't interested in theories. He just wanted to know one thing. Who am I now? Because the man who woke up wasn't the same one who went to sleep. And deep inside, he could feel it. A part of him was gone. Replaced by something or someone he couldn't explain. The story of Michael Thomas spread like wildfire. News channels called it a modern-day linguistic miracle. Scientists called it impossible. But for neurologists and linguists around the world, Michael's case wasn't just strange, it was a challenge. How could a man with no exposure to Spanish suddenly speak it fluently after a head injury? A research team from the University of Chicago requested to study him. They ran brain scans, EEGs, memory tests, every tool available. The results left them speechless. Michael's brain showed unusual activity in the Broca's area and Wernicke's area, the two regions that control language production and comprehension. It looked like the accident had rewired his brain, opening pathways that weren't active before. One theory emerged: foreign language syndrome, a rare, almost mythical condition where brain trauma triggers unexpected linguistic abilities. Only a handful of similar cases existed worldwide. A Croatian woman who woke up speaking German, an Englishman who suddenly began speaking fluent French. But Michael's case was different. His fluency was total. His personality even seemed to change. Gestures, tone, the rhythm of his speech. As if the language had brought another self to life. His friends said he laughed differently. He no longer liked the same foods. Even his handwriting changed. One neurologist described it simply. It's as if the brain rebooted, but loaded a different operating system. Still, skepticism grew. Was it real, or had Michael somehow absorbed fragments of the language unconsciously from TV, music, the internet, and his trauma unlocked it? Psychologists called it a case of cryptomnesia, forgotten memories resurfacing in new form, but others whispered a deeper question. What if this wasn't new learning, but old remembering? Reincarnation. Cellular memory. The idea that knowledge or even language could survive beyond one lifetime. It was unprovable. But in Michael's eyes, there was a quiet conviction that somehow this language wasn't foreign to him. It felt familiar. Scientists search for answers. Michael searched for meaning. And that search would soon lead him somewhere he never expected. Back to a place he'd never been, but somehow already knew. For months, Michael lived between two worlds. A past he could no longer recall, and a present that didn't quite belong to him. Every morning, he'd wake up and hear himself speaking Spanish, a language that felt natural, even comforting. Yet he still couldn't explain why. One day, while watching Spanish news online, a headline caught his attention. A small coastal town in Mexico, Veracruz. The images struck him instantly. Narrow streets, colorful houses, and a bell tower that made his chest tighten as if something deep inside him remembered that sound. Within weeks, he was on a plane. Doctors advised against it. The family begged him not to go, but he said, "I need to know where this language came from before it consumes me." When Michael arrived in Veracruz, something strange happened. He navigated the streets with ease. He understood local slang. He even ordered food in dialects most tourists couldn't grasp. In a small cafe by the waterfront, an elderly woman approached him. "Eres tú, Mateo?" she asked. "Are you Mateo?" Michael froze. The name echoed in his mind like a memory, faint, distant, but familiar. She explained that years ago her grandson Mateo had drowned in the harbor. He was just 12. The boy had loved the same Spanish songs Michael now found himself humming without knowing why. The same mannerisms, the same soft tone when speaking. It was coincidence, maybe, or something more. Michael didn't claim to be her grandson reborn, but as she spoke, tears filled his eyes. "I don't know who I was," he said in Spanish, "but somehow I feel like I've come home." For the first time since his accident, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't confused. The language that once felt like an alien invasion now felt like a heartbeat, steady, familiar, alive. And in that moment, Michael realized something powerful. Maybe identity isn't fixed. Maybe memory isn't just in the brain. Maybe who we are is something much deeper. When Michael returned to the U.S., he wasn't the same man who had left. Something in him had changed, not just the language, but the way he saw the world. Scientists wanted to study him again. Priests wanted to pray for him. And the media wanted to turn him into a mystery they could sell. But Michael wasn't looking for fame. He was looking for truth. Neuroscientists at Johns Hopkins invited him for advanced imaging scans. The results stunned them. His brain had formed new neural pathways, links between memory, speech, and emotional centers never seen in normal patients. It was as though the accident had forced his mind to rebuild itself, and in that rebuilding, it had found access to something old. Was it pure chance? A dormant skill suddenly awakened? Or proof that the mind holds knowledge it never learned? Dr. Elaine Foster, a neurologist, put it this way: if language is the software of thought, then Michael's brain didn't just recover. It reinstalled a different program. But others weren't satisfied with scientific explanations. A spiritual researcher from Spain believed Michael's case mirrored xenoglossy, the spontaneous ability to speak a foreign language without prior study, often linked to deep states of consciousness or reincarnation. Michael listened politely. He didn't dismiss it, but he said something that silenced the room. Maybe it doesn't matter how it happened. Maybe the point isn't why I speak this language, but what it's trying to tell me. In the months that followed, Michael began teaching Spanish to others, not as an expert, but as someone rediscovering the beauty of words. He spoke about empathy, connection, and the mystery of being human. The accident that almost took his life had given him something unexpected, a second chance, through a second voice. The scientists wrote papers, the reporters moved on, but Michael remained a living reminder of how fragile and extraordinary the human mind can be, that sometimes, between science and the supernatural, There's a place where reason ends and wonder begins. Time has a strange way of healing and revealing. For Michael Thomas, 7 years after the crash, the question that once haunted him has become his peace. He no longer asks why this happened. He's learned to live in the space between answers, the space where mystery and meaning meet. Today, he still speaks Spanish. He dreams in it, thinks in it. Sometimes he even forgets what English words feel like on his tongue. But that no longer scares him. He teaches language now, not from textbooks, but from experience. To him, every word is proof that life can rewrite itself, that identity is not carved in stone, and that sometimes, to discover who we truly are, we have to lose who we were. One evening, standing by the lake where he used to run before the accident, he said something that stayed with me. Maybe language isn't just words. Maybe it's the soul trying to remember where it came from. Michael's story isn't about a miracle. It's about the hidden power inside every one of us, the power to rebuild, to transform, and to wake up different. We all have languages we haven't learned yet, waiting to be spoken to. Maybe he just found a way out first,